Hello,
Like,
hello. As promised last week, today would be about time traveling, all of those good things, and I know it's one of your favorite topics. So
it
let's see,
is.
what sort of what's the main idea that we want to start off with here?
Well, it's just so interesting because there's so many different topics around time. And, is it real? Does it exist? What is it? What is the purpose? How to use it? Um, and I feel like I didn't really care so much about time until I got into the Akashic Records.
Hmm.
And then when I started working in the Akashic and going into that space to heal. I've always did like meditation to heal like inner child work. So I kind of already went just back in my memory,
Hmm.
my conscious memory, um, for a long time working on just like the steps and lessons in life. But working in the Akashic was like the first time I really went back into the subconscious memory and touched base with like past lives. So then it really makes you question then what is possible? What is reality? Is time real? If time can be changed or bent, what makes it real? Or is it just bent in our mind when we change that memory? Because there's just so many different concepts to that, you know. I think it'd be fun to dive into how to use time and how to use it for manifestation or
Mm.
healing.
Well, before all that, I wanted to ask you if you could just explain quickly what the Akashic is for people that might be listening and that don't know what that is.
Okay, cool. Because that popped in my mind too. So I'm glad that you got that. Um, so the Akashic is basically the Akasha is another word for like um energy, it's kind of the all that is, and it's the, I would say, frequency or energy fabric of the universe, kind of like everything that has been happening in the past, present, or future is all recorded in this energetic library or database. And that's what people normally call the Akashic Records, is that like kind of higher consciousness database for everything that has ever existed or will exist, or what you have done or will do.
Thank you. I think that's a great foundation even for an episode on time because, I'm wondering and people are wondering how can this be, right? We are so used to this concept of the linear time here on Earth where, I know what happened in the past. I don't know what's going to happen in my future. Now is now. And so how can it be that everything can happen all at once or has already happened, right? And if we consider your definition of the Akasha, it's sort of like in this very moment, everything has happened and, everything is at the same time that ever existed, will ever exist. It's now all happening. And we don't have access to that necessarily in this consciousness, right? We can do work like you do in the Akashic Records, but in my present consciousness of me talking to you, I'm not aware of all these components of my past, present, and future life, right?
Yeah.
So how can it be that everything can happen all at once? What's your take on that?
Oh, well, I was imagining something else as you were talking. So now I'm wondering
Go
if it
ahead.
goes with that or if I should like jump. What I was getting from what you were saying. What did you say that triggered the idea? You said something about in this conscious
Hmm.
reality,
Hmm.
time exists, the me, the you, the now, the memories. So I love that you mentioned that because I feel that part of the illusion of time is that it is dimensional. So like you mentioned, in this dimension, we are able to see this linear time. And I kind of feel that in this dimension or this earth plane is really the only place that time exists.
Mm.
I really feel that it is a construct for whatever this, earth experiment or earth reality or this dimension is really set forth. its purpose for, it needed this time, construct. So I really feel like it's a kind of like a mathematical, almost like ticking or numbers that just kind of like start to wave the details and the things that would be put in the Akashic, just as we are going through life in the now. It's all just kind of like being recorded like on a timestamp. But it's like that only can then exist here. So if I think of it like that, like to get an image for you, it's like, what if, so then take away the idea of time. Time doesn't exist. But you're here now. Imagine that the here now, your awareness in linear time brought down to this dimension is experiencing the now, but you now are also connected to all the other dimensions of yourself. Like you're connected to your higher self, which is connected to all the future past selves, which, well, really that don't exist, right? Because we're remembering time doesn't exist. And just for a second, time doesn't exist. So when we're here, we're just really focusing our attention and awareness in this limited perspective, which gives us this perspective of time. But if we're expanding our awareness into larger and larger dimensions, and we are connected to conscious awareness of this dimension plus the higher dimensions, that's where I think that we fall into this alignment in between time and space, because we're in accessing the other dimensions simultaneously while we are having our awareness and experience here. But it's like once you just expand or stretch to those dimensions, then you do have access to your past lives, your future lives, all of time, all of the universals, time and Akashic. And when you're floating around in those higher dimensions, or not even higher, I would say that they're inner dimensions. When your awareness, like your focus is there, then you don't feel that time. So it's really that we're just focused in this dimension, which is bringing us into a linear perspective, making time needing to exist, necessary to exist. So I think it was constructed for a purpose. But it is an illusion. It's an illusion that can create obstacles for us. Yeah.
So let me just sort of circle back, because there were a lot of elements there that I picked up on that I want to sort of summarize. But for me, the purpose of this illusion, the purpose that time was created in this way here in the 3D, was because we needed to have this focused attention on this lifetime in order to really do our soul's purpose and experience the things we wanted to experience and learn the lessons that we had to learn and all that. And if we did not have this limited perspective in the 3D, we would be a little bit all over the place. I'm just going to call it that, right? We would be like, oh, okay, here's, what happened then and what will happen then. And we wouldn't have the same experience embodied here. So I feel like that was, the reason that you were sort of pointing to was just to keep us focused on the now in a way to really experience the human form, right? If we want to call it that. And then when you mentioned all the other dimensions, there was like a bell that was ringing in my head, like that's like the basis, the fundamentals of manifestation, right? Because you have to access those higher dimensions, see, right, all of the different aspects of you in the past, present, future. And then with that in mind, with that in hand, then you manifest what you want, right? Am I getting this right? Okay, good.
Yes. From a higher frequency, from a higher vibration, because you attract what you are. So you raise your vibration and you place that intention in the power of your, higher selves or higher dimensions, and wield it in those spaces, not wielding it down here in the 3D. The 3D is the aftermath. This is where it all happens. This is not where we manifest it.
I'm thinking of the future as in terms of the possibilities. So for me, because I'm, okay, my question was like, all right, so how can I, if everything has already happened, how can I manifest something specific that I want now? So in my mind, the way that I see it, and I'd love to hear your perspective, but the way that I see it, on a multidimensional level, sort of all the possibilities have occurred. And then when I try to manifest, it's sort of like I pinpoint, or I take the one that I actually want from the endless possibilities. It's sort of like, okay, let me bring this one in the 3D out
Like
of the
forward,
menu.
yeah.
Right, exactly. Forward,
Yeah.
bring, I see this visual of, okay, I'm gonna grab this one like a lettuce from the shelf, at the grocery store. Oh yeah, I want this one. Although all of the other ones are there too. This is the one that I want in my life right now. So that's my perspective on sort of how to manifest something in this idea that everything has already happened. Do you resonate with that? What's your take on it?
Yeah, I like that visual. I've never thought of it like that. And I think that that's really the best way to go. It's like it's a possibility. So it's there in front of you, but you do have to accept it, receive it into your life, which is a huge problem of when we block manifestations and stuff. We're like, I want, but it's like, do you really feel like you're worthy of it? Do you allow yourself to receive it, or do you block it every time you get something coming your way? So it's like that's huge part of how people block their own manifestations. But you said something. You
Oh.
said something I wanted to continue on with. It was your diagram of the picking. Oh, because I wanted to mention that was a similar idea of like the multiverse in the
Mm.
Marvel movies and stuff, where it's like there can be even 300 million thousand billion U's, and it's just U's in different timelines or different, places or areas. They're all possibility kind of. I don't view it like, that's why I wanted to mention this. I don't view it like that when I'm in that state. I like that because that even puts it as puts that person in power to
Mm.
choose and know that there still is a plan.
Right,
There's
right.
you have free will. I like that because in mine, I'm like, the way I perceive it is I don't want to say it like this because then it's kind of like we always say like get off the hamster wheel in life. But like when I think of the higher dimension and time, I think of it like a hamster wheel in a way that it just like it's just cycles.
Mhm.
And if we're like moving and running, and this is silly. This
No,
is just the way that I could describe
go
it.
ahead.
It's like a movie reel and it's constantly moving, but it's created based on what we are manifesting in that moment. So it's like
Mhm.
there's always only the moment. And then so you can get like a little ahead of your manifestations, a little behind your manifestation, but you're
Mm.
on this hamster wheel kind of creating as you go.
Mhm.
So that with that, it's like, well, does the universe even create it until you wish it?
Mm.
It's kind of like,
Right, right,
ooh,
right.
so like there is a lot of possibilities, but maybe even the possibilities haven't been made up yet. And maybe the possibilities that like even with humanity we have are limited based on the belief that we have in ourselves. And that's just human consciousness and what level human consciousness is at.
Mhm.
Because what if you could take possibilities out of the question and infinite was possible? Everything was possible.
Right.
Then would we actually start to kind of like create miracles or the impossibilities and manifest those because we're not limiting our own possibilities from our perspective. So what to know about time? Why is it so important? Because we can use it to heal ourselves. We can use it to manifest, things in future events. We can use it to just go back. Okay, so I do not know where I saw this, but it was a reputable, like his history channel kind of thing, very, very cool. Like maybe I even heard from you, but like humans. It's
I
just
am a
recently.
very reputable source of information.
Yes, you are reputable. Um, but like humans, they're not many species that have memory, that are encoded with memory in their consciousness. So most species and most animals and things like that, most other entities are living in the moment constantly. They don't even know what this concept is of memory or a past.
Mm.
when they're not worried about the future. So they're living in the very basic, right,
Sorry, I'm
of
laughing because I
survival
remember.
mechanism.
Right. I'm
Was
just
it
laughing
you?
because I remember because I think it was last week when we spoke about the monkey effect, and I was saying that the
Yes.
monkeys are present in the moment and they're not thinking about their childhood trauma. But sorry, I cut
And
you
it
off.
then
I
hurts
think that
somewhere else. So that's why I was like, there's something here.
that's
There's
funny.
something here following the breadcrumbs. That's so, isn't that amazing that our species is embedded with memory? Why is this so? Why
Mm-hmm.
is this so? Something to ponder, I think.
Mm-hmm. It's
And
a good
so
question.
only in our species would this need to exist, this concept
Hmm.
of time. And
Hmm.
why? Hmm.
That is a good
I know.
question. That is a good
This is what I
question.
was pondering this week.
Hmm.
So, if we can use it to our benefit, if we use this concept that is a created illusion, see it for what it is and wield it, because that's what I'm all about is right, taking the power back. How can we use this and transmute it into something that can be helpful, positive, a tool, or something?
Mm-hmm.
Because if it's going to be there, if it's the law of time and it's a law of the universe, it's going to be stuck in the program, in the matrix, and whatever this reality is, then you want to use it. You want to have it work for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be part of the game that you want to get to know, right? So time.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different modalities. Well, there's probably not even a lot of modalities. There's not a lot of time travelers out there. What are you saying? Okay, if you're a time traveler, I want you to hit like and subscribe. And then you need to join our conscious chats because we'd love to chat with you as
Yeah.
well. All the time travelers in the universe. If
This would make a
not,
great
keep
topic.
listening. Keep listening because you're probably going to want to book a session with one of us. um, so, okay. So, using this time for your
Mm-hmm.
benefit, I started using it in the Akashic Records. So the Akashic Records is basically, I explained a little bit a minute ago, but okay, so if I were to explain it from a different perspective, it's basically a frequency. The Akashic is just a energy, right? So it's a dimension, it's a frequency that you tap into. Now, it's so easy to tap into things, anything. When you put your attention on something, you're attaching to that frequency. You're already reading that energy. We just don't know it. We do it so naturally and it's part of our being. So when I say don't think of pink elephants, you instantly can imagine a pink elephant. You just went there.
Mm-hmm.
Like 2 seconds, it just went there. So when you're in the Akashic, you just go there. You just have that intention or that mental, you tune into like a radio, like your body is a radio and you just go into that station. So once you're in that station, then it's kind of like we were talking about earlier. It's just a different dimension. So when you're in that expanded awareness dimension, your sense of time can be malleable,
Mm-hmm.
right? I use clairvoyance, but other people could be using different, again, tools and psychic techniques, psychic modalities, along with the Akashic. But I'm a visual person, so I do clairvoyant images, but I'll go back and use the Akashic to go back in time to discover wounds and traumas, to discover obstacles and blocks where they were originated or created. Because I feel healing at the root core cause of an issue is really the only way to go. Any other healing method is only masking the symptom,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I've learned that in like 20 years of just being in the healing industry. I've learned 20 years of just masking the symptom, but it got me to the point where, oh, now I know how to get to the root core,
Mm-hmm.
and it's mind over matter. But going to the root of an issue in any past life is really helpful. But when you start to play around with the Akashic and you can realize, well, you're going in time, then you realize you can also just go and expand to the more dimensions of who you are in reality, or you can move through time, meaning you can move in the future, or even, I don't want to say I'm playing with time hopping, But it's like you can go into the, not like you said, the different possibilities, but you can just choose your highest timeline,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because you're in there and then you can kind of have a better awareness of your possibilities or choices from a higher perspective and make a choice from that higher perspective. And then it just becomes much easier
Mm-hmm.
to be on your highest timeline, which I feel is like what you were mentioning by choosing one. It's all by choice. But there's so many ways you can use the Akashic for time. Now when you can bend time and then and you know what you really want and you know what your highest timeline is, you can try to help transfer, I would say transfer the energy, but really you're aligning your vibration to the energy of your manifestation in the future. But again, that's how we manifest. So we manifest then by aligning to the vibration of what we want. An accelerated place to do that is the Akashic, because you go into that expanded higher dimension, connect to that future event, just like you would connect to a past event and heal it. You
Mm-hmm.
connect to the future event, connect to that manifestation of the event. And now, if you're really being non-biased, you might see something else completely happen that's even better than what you want to manifest, you know? And then you're like, oh, okay, well, now I don't know what to focus on that. I know what steps to take for that. Either way, you're connecting to the highest and best version of yourself in a future timeline, in your highest timeline, and you as yourself that's in the now or the past, right? Is just connecting to that. Isn't that better than connecting to a trauma from 7 years ago and reliving that over and over for the rest of your life? You know, it's like, So it's choosing where you put your mind, choosing where you put your focus, whether time exists or not, or you go into the Akashic and go into the past, or go into the Akashic and go into the future or not. All of it ends as what? Your energy flows where attention goes.
Mm-hmm.
That's the end of it. That's like the only law in the universe. That's where time is. Time is where you put your attention.
Hmm.
It's where you're putting your focus. And that's why we are experiencing time in this reality, in this dimension now, because this is where we are putting our energy and focus. And there's a reason for it. We all have a mission, a purpose,
Yeah,
a destiny.
like we said, totally. I want to ask you because I know when you go into Akashic Records, it's better from what I've heard to have like good questions to ask the guides. And I wanted to know if I was um looking to go in the Akashic Records in the future, right? What would be a good question? Should I say like, what is my life gonna look like in 20 years? Like, what is a good question to ask if I wanted to sort of align myself with my highest timeline? How can I go about that? What should I ask?
So, yeah, you would, again, if you could find an Akashic Records person to facilitate, I
Like
think
yourself? Yeah.
Alex or myself, we could help facilitate. Um, and it is good to go through there's specific steps to get into the Akashic Records in a very honorable and I would say spiritual way.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's a very respected spiritual dimension.
Mm-hmm.
So I would go in with that in mind. But like I said, just by wishing it or willing it or intending it or focusing on the Akashic, you are there. So, so again, enter with reverence and respect. And then,
And you
so
will
you
feel
just
it.
focus.
I just want to
Yeah.
say because it's very, very subtle. And I've had people say to me, well, I might have been in the Akashic Records, but I'm not sure. It could be very, very subtle. If you do any sort of intuitive development work or psychic work, you may know that there could be a very subtle shift in your energy and the energy around you. For me, I feel it almost when I enter the Akashic Records. It's so weird. I feel like the air is almost like water. It's like I feel like there's like this movement in the air that feels like water. It's very hard to describe, but that's how I know. That's just my cue. And everybody has their own way of knowing that they're there, right? But it could be super, super subtle. So I would say to anybody that's willing to go there or to try it, to maybe um, try a few times and see just how you feel. Maybe try to tap into really the subtle cues of your body, or things. Maybe you might see the same thing every time, or you may hear the same thing every time, or something along those lines, but it could be very subtle. So don't get discouraged, like, oh, I can't do this. I can't get into the Akashic. You can do it. It's subtle.
Yeah.
So go.
It's a shift.
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm,
just you notice the moment it shifts, and that can be subtle. Yeah. So for me, it's like empty.
mm,
It feels expansive and it feels like space. And I almost feel like if I were to go in higher altitude, where there's like no sounds,
mm-hmm.
and it's just like not ringing in the ear, but it's just like that's how empty, where you hear like the echo-ness of it. That's what it feels like for me. So
That's
see,
cool.
we all have different cues. We all have, to me, it's just the openness. So
Mm,
so yeah, you would just tune into that,
mm-hmm,
get in there. And I would definitely recommend then, especially if you don't have a facilitator, to call upon an angel or a guide, just to have that energy vibration there as well, to help just clear you, keep you focused and things like that, and have an intention. So with questions, the best questions to have are the most, not informed, what am the word I'm looking for? Specific. You have to be
mm-hmm.
very
Precise.
specific with the universe, precise with the universe. So I would have definitely questions ready beforehand, so you have something to focus on, focus the questions on, focus your mind on. When you focus your mind on something, it helps to get out of the way, so you can listen to intuition a little bit better. But yeah, very precise. So I would give timelines. I would be like, I intend to go and view 1 year from now.
Mm-hmm,
I want to see 6 months from now. I want to say what I wouldn't go above 3 years, because really it's the little everyday things that become what is. And it takes time, but anything that you're gonna manifest, I want to say anything you're working on now. It's like I feel timelines are shifting so quick now, and your life could look totally different. And then you're gonna wonder, well, how can I get there? So
mm,
just for fun, stay close to
right.
tangible, quick results. And that way you can have verification as
Mm-hmm.
well. So precise questions, give it a timeline, like give it names, give it places if you have something specific in mind. But in the end, I always say, like, my North Star is always, if this is in the highest good for me, and not but
Mm-hmm,
like, and all involved. So
mm-hmm,
it has to be a win-win. It has to be good for the universe, all involved, and for myself, for me to want to continue on that path.
mm-hmm.
Like, it has to be my highest timeline. So that's kind of like, I put that at the end of everything. And then you just go from there.
Okay, because that was my
And
question. I was going to ask, what if I ask, okay, what does my life look like in 6 months? And what if I don't like what I see? How can I
mhm,
change that?
yeah, but then immediately asking, well, then what is in my highest good?
Mm-hmm,
You are always going to like your highest good. You're always going to enjoy, because you will be living in full bliss and
mm-hmm,
ecstasy of, like, embodying your highest self.
mm-hmm,
So your highest timeline is your highest self embodied. You're gonna love it. So if you
mm-hmm,
don't like
mm-hmm.
what you see, you're not on your highest timeline. And that's
Right.
the very purpose of going within, is because you have the power to see. You do have free will. Just a possibility.
Mm-hmm,
So then you can say, oh, wow, is that the trajectory I'm on? I didn't realize that I was on that trajectory.
mm-hmm,
What do I need to change in my life? What new things do I need to put in place? What habits? What healthy this, that, so that I am not on that trajectory anymore. So it's about putting the power back in your hands, so you can make, healthy decisions, or be a participant as the creator in your life. So that is the whole purpose. Absolutely. So then ask, yeah, what would be the highest timelines, or ask, what would be the next step? What would be my highest next step?
Mm-hmm.
Then not manifest this, right? What would be my next highest step? So again, I'm very specific. I'm like the next highest, like you know, be direct. So the universe, yeah. The universe, I've noticed it's more of a conversation that we have to start, almost like an AI messenger,
Mm.
right? It's like if you start or type something, then they'll instantly have a respond.
Mm-hmm.
Typing more stuff, instantly have a respond. Once you stop engaging, it stops as well. Like the universe stops.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
you've got to like initiate. I always feel like initiation is is huge because we often get so distracted. We don't stop and get present and then just be like, oh yeah, I haven't talked with the universe in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Or, oh, you know what? I haven't asked for guidance. I haven't asked for this. We are so supported, but like until we ask or until we initiate, it's like they're just standing on the benches. They're waiting for us
Yeah.
to call them in. So I don't know. I feel like that.
Yeah. I've read something in yeah, of course in Miracles where it said that there's always this connection between you and God, but you have severed the connection. It's not God that did that, right? So we
Yeah.
do that ourselves by not engaging, like you're saying, by not engaging with the universe. It's not that the universe forgot about us and like shoved us in a corner and, it's just that we have not been engaging in this two-way conversation. And so they're like, just like you, I love that image of just like AI, just like, all right, I'm just waiting here for you.
Yeah, I'm just waiting. And
Right?
and no decision is still a decision. So yeah,
Yeah.
like not talking is still it's not engaging. Like it's still you have to meet that.
Hmm. It's a great way to end an episode on time of just
Yeah,
knowing
so
also that
good.
you're supported and all that, right? You are um loved and guided also by your angels, your guides, and if it feels hard to be in this dimension, know that you're not alone and
Yeah.
you have access to tools like the Akashic Records and you can ask for guidance and you can just sort of get your team behind you and rally up to get to that highest timeline. So I think it's a great way to end this.